Hello again, it's me, I'm PJ Metz. I'm here as a guest lecturer for the DevOps class here at Morehouse College. I'm very excited to be bringing to you the advanced Web IDE topics. And I say advanced, but really it's just a little more about how to use it and how to navigate it such that you're not worried about how to use the tool when what you should be worried about is how to write the great code. And that's part of why these two lectures I've done, the previous Web IDE and this exist, is because knowing these basics and knowing these sort of ways to navigate make room in your brain for the code that you have to write and the things that you have to do as a developer. So without further ado, let's get into advanced Web IDE topics. First off, reintroduction to me. I don't know. I feel like I covered this already, and if you're in class, you remember. But let's run down again real quick. PJ Metz, he, him. I'm an education evangelist from Florida, Orlando. I love Disney. I love Universal. I love theme parks in general. Grew up. My dad worked at the theme park, so I had to love me some Disney. I'm into poetry. I'm technically a published poet, but I don't like to be like I'm a published poet because like it was on a couple websites and like a small anthology. I came up in the actually when I lived in Busan, Korea. I was doing slam poetry over there with a couple of other expats, so like that was my thing for a hot minute. Music, I'm a drummer by trade, but that's not really true. By fun, I like to play drums for fun. And I'm a former high school English teacher. That's what I did for 11 years before I came to GitLab. So I love education. I love like teaching and working with students. Love 80s music, 80s culture, synthwave, neon, all that stuff is my jam. Check me out on Twitter, on GitLab, and on Twitch, and especially on Twitch. We are trying to host more shows where we have students come on and talk about what they've done on GitLab and projects that you're building. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me and we can get you all on Twitch for a show. So what are we covering today? We're covering a lot of different things. We're covering how to commit changes when we're talking about Git and how to review those changes. Covering merge requests, switching merge requests and branches. We're covering something called live preview. We're also covering how to make a handbook page and how to update a handbook page. The GitLab handbook is huge. It's over 2,000 web pages large, and there's a ton of information on there about how we do things, how you should do things, processes, who we are, stuff like that. So there's a very specific process for creating a page and updating one, and it's open to anyone. Anybody can update a page, can edit a page, and make a merge request if you think there's something in there that should be in there, or if you find, for instance, a typo and you want to fix one. And then finally, we're going to talk about how to view CI logs directly from the Web IDE. So even though we're talking about the Web IDE, we're covering a bunch of other things that involve a little more depth and a little more work. So first, committing changes. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as Git and source control. So GitLab uses Git for source control management, and Git's a technology that allows for a central repository of files to exist that gets essentially copied, changed in some way, and those changes get pushed back in, and those changes are then reflected in the original. There's important keywords when it comes to Git, things you may or may not have heard of already. Push, pull, commit, branch, merge. A push is, think of it, to make sure we're on the same page, two things. The central repository exists, and if you want to work on your local machine, so the central repository is on a server somewhere, it's on gitlab.com, and it's code, and it's files, and it's a bunch of stuff to use for a project. Your local machine makes a copy of that and pulls it to the local machine. So now on your laptop, right, you can work with everything that you just saw in the repository. You make a change, you add a file, you commit it, and we'll talk more about commit. But then the next thing you do when you're ready to make those changes reflect in the repository that's over here, you push to it. So think of it like you're pulling to yourself in your local machine and you're pushing away to the repository, to the remote location. Okay, let's keep talking about these other things. Commit. Oh no, go back. Commit is to, it's sort of like a promise in a way. Like when you click commit, you're making a promise that a change has been made, right? but the change isn't reflected in the repository until you push to the repository. A branch, when we talk about Git, we've got main. In some systems, it's called master, but the main branch, and off of the main branch, right, comes other branches. So the act of making a copy creates a new branch. And think of it, again, just think of it like a tree, right? Comes off like a branch, and then you're working in that, except unlike a tree, we can push it back into the main source of code. And then finally, a merge is the act of pushing one branch into the other and making the changes in that branch reflected in the main one. So GitLab's Web IDE makes it really easy to work with Git. A lot of places you have to work in the terminal, and you have to like use commands like git push, git pull, git remote, git git fetch, git. There's so many, and there's a lot to know. That's fine. You can do that locally if you want in a terminal, or if you're working with the Web IDE, there's a little button that commits it, and within it there's a bunch of features that make it a lot easier. So once you click that button I just showed you, it takes you to this screen. And in this screen, as you may remember from the previous lecture, there's a space to put what's called a commit message. You can commit it to the main branch, or you can make a new branch right here. And you can start a new merge request. And what this screen is really showing you are the changes that were made, or the diff. So on the left is the old file. On the right is the new file. And this is important because it shows you exactly the changes that were made that are going to be reflected in the merge request that you're creating. Let's check out creating a merge request. This is the next part. So you've clicked commit. It takes you to this previous page. Then you put your message in. You decide whether it's to the main branch or a new branch. You start a new merge request and click commit. And then you get to this page. Now, excuse me. This page is asking the person responsible for the repository to change something. So let's say you're the owner of a project, and you've got a friend who's working on something, and they're like, hey, I solved that issue, that problem we were working on. I made a merge request. I need you to check it out. Creating a merge request is a signal to someone else who has the authority to merge. Hey, I'm requesting that you put these changes in. Now, you have to give them enough information about those changes so they can make a good decision about whether it should or should not be merged. And that's what this description is for. Something really important here is saying why the change is made, not just what is made. So why a change is made is something like, I'm changing these lines of code because they're never being called, and it's extraneous data that we don't need, so I deleted them. What is changing is I deleted these 3 lines. But why did you delete them? Okay, I added this function. Why did you add the function? I added this function because it increases the effectiveness of this code and allows for it to call on a more important library that we'll need later on. Whatever the reason is, give that reason, because if you're just saying what change was made, that's not as helpful. There are other options here. You can have a reviewer, a person who checks it but doesn't merge it. So in some open source projects, for instance, there might be people who are assigned as reviewers, and then there's someone who can actually merge. The reviewers have to say, yep, I looked at the code, it looks good, there's no problems. And then the merge request person, ooh, goodness, need more coffee. And then the merge request person says, okay, the reviewer said yes, so now I'm going to merge it. An assignee as well, you can see right at the bottom here, is sort of the next person to take action. So when you assign someone the merge request, you're saying it's your turn to do something. So a good way to do it is assign it to yourself, make the merge request, make sure everything's correct. If there's any pipelines that need to run, let it run. And then you change the assignee. You take yourself off as assignee, you assign the next person, and then you tag them in the comments of that merge request. This way they know, hey, you're the next person to do something on this. All right, so here's a demonstration of the whole process of going from a commit to a merge request. So first off, here we are in my Divas Live project again. I'm going to go into my Mariah Carey based Twitter bot, and I click that button right there, Web IDE. Or I can hit the period button that automatically opens it. You'll see some error banners up there. Don't worry about those. You'll see I'm already in Mariah, and I've noticed, and I'll let you know what I noticed, that this line 81 actually doesn't do anything. I don't need this in order for my Mariah Carey Twitter bot to function, so I'm going to get rid of it. Gone. Notice that as soon as I made a change to the file, that commit button over here lit up. It knows you just made a change. It knows you just changed something in this code. So if you want to commit it, it knows there's a change there. I delete a few lines, so now it's only got 79 lines. And again, code's going to run fine, no problem. So I click commit. It brings us to this page again. There's the diff. All this red means deleted. And notice that we're only up to line 80 now, right? I didn't add anything. If you add something, it's in green. But when you delete something, it's in red. So now I need to fill out my commit message. I need to decide if I'm going to commit to main or make a new branch. Now in the commit message, you don't have to say why. The commit message is short and something quick, right? Removed extra line 81, that's not needed. I can commit that right to the main branch if I want. Or I can create a new branch. Now notice that the a few options went away when you click commit to main branch. When you click commit to main branch, no merge request needed, none of that stuff. But when you create a new branch, you need to name the new branch, and you have the option to start a new merge request right then. You do not have to start a merge request right then, but it's usually best practice to go ahead and get that merge request started. Don't assign it to anyone yet. Merge request is a request. So I named my branch PJ remove line 81. I like to throw my name on my branches. That way someone immediately knows who did it. Description, line 81 is not necessary in order for the code to run. So a detailed description is important. Obviously, you want there to be enough information there for someone to make a decision, because you are asking someone to make a decision about this project. Not a big deal if it's just my Diva's live project that only I'm involved in. But for larger projects, you want to give enough information here so that the person knows what's going on. There it is. I assign it to myself. You can assign reviewers. If you've got a milestone, if you've got a label, you can do that here. A lot of times you don't necessarily have a label for a personal project. Making sure delete source branch when merge request is accepted is checked, and then you create your merge request, and there we are. We are now inside a merge request. Okie-doke. There we go. All right. So when we're talking about switching merge requests and branches, inside the Web IDE, there's a little toggle that lets you switch what merge request you're in or switch the branch that you're working in. Because if there's a, if you're on main and you've got a branch called PJ line 81, right in the Web IDE, if you're working in main, your files are in a certain state, right? That line hasn't been deleted yet. But if you're on that branch, on the PJ branch, the file has been deleted. So there, you have to make sure you know what branch you're working on, and if you've got multiple merge requests, which merge request you're working in. Now, to switch, there's a drop down in the top left, which I'll show you in 1 second. But before you leave the Web IDE, if you've made changes, or before you leave the commit area, you have to commit or discard your changes. Like, oh, excuse me. When I talk a lot, I get yawny. So you have to be like, I'm committing this, or I'm not committing this, and I'm discarding the changes that I made before you move away from the merge request page. So here's switching branches. Like I said, right up here, we're inside a file. We're looking at different files here. There's Mariah down here, and you can go up and you can be like, oh, I need to be on PJ remove. And let's look at that one more time. I moved kind of fast there. So as you can see, I'm in main, right? When I go to that branch, It's going to look different. And that branch does not have the old line. This is before the merge request has happened. There it is. Line 81 is still there when you're on the main branch. Up there, there's also merge requests. So it's drop-down menu, branches, merge requests over here, and you'll see that's the name of the merge request. If you've got several merge requests, it'll have them all here, and there's a search function for them. All right. So the Web IDE has a way to preview JavaScript projects directly in the browser, and this uses Code Sandbox to compile and bundle it and lets you actually preview a web app.
It's a quick taste of what's new in the Web IDE. I found this simple to do app on.
So this guy is showing us an app he has, and then on the right, there's a little play button. And this was introduced back in, I think, 11 point something for GitLab. So when we're looking at this, you'll see over here, that little icon leads to this. That is a sandbox that makes what you have over here, this project, run so you can see what it's going to look like without having to fully go all the way to actually deploying it somewhere. So the project itself gets shown off here as a to-do app. So you can actually make changes. So they're going to go in here to the to-do list item, and they're adding things, and it's showing up immediately in live preview. This doesn't work for all languages. It doesn't even work for all project types. For instance, if you're doing a non-web app, it's certainly not going to work. My Twitter bots would show nothing on this because they're just code that runs on a server and activates stuff on Twitter. But if you're doing something that involves some front end, it does it right here. So you'll see the changes he's making are showing up on the right-hand side. And let's go back again real quick. We'll see what it used to look like. It used to be a button that said done. He's real quick going to add a new file. And it's a done button that he's creating. And you'll see this go from that, and he's going to change it a little bit. He's importing done from done button. And it disappears, and there it is. Comes a little check. All changes that are being made and being seen immediately in live preview. Pretty dope. Let's pause. There we go. So as far as creating a handbook page, it's kind of a longer, complicated process. This is like a 3-minute video, but let's watch it and go through it. So first off, the handbook lives at GitLab.com in a project called www-gitlab-com. That's the project in which our handbook lives. I'm going to go ahead and do just the screen only here so you don't have to worry about my face. So what you do is you open it up in the IDE, navigate to Sites, navigate to Handbook, navigate to Source, and then to Handbook one more time. And then this is a list of all the different sections of the handbook that we have. I'm going to head to Marketing, which is where a lot of my stuff lives because the Community Relations team is in Marketing. I'm heading down to Community Relations, and I'm heading down to Education, which is the team that I'm on. So in the education program, I've got education evangelism and I've got Twitch. So I'm going to show you how to create a new page. So first off, every new page in the handbook needs a new directory file, right? It needs a new folder there. So I created a folder called example. Inside of that, I'm creating a new file. And you'll see like that's the full path to get to it, right? Source, handbook, marketing, community relations, education program, education evangelism, Twitch, the example folder I just created, and now I'm making a file called index.md and .html.md, and MD stands for Markdown. So I'm going to write this file in Markdown, and then when it renders, it will actually render as a new page on the website. Doing an old tried and true coding skill here, which is copying and pasting. I'm literally just taking index.html from Twitch and just pasting it here in example. Now I don't want it to be the exact same page, so I'm going to change the title up top here where we have layout, title, and description. Showing how to make a new handbook page. I'm going to go ahead and underneath on this page, I keep all of that stuff, but I delete the word content. So keeping on this page, this is all table of contents stuff that you need up at the top. Super cool title because I'm very clever. Now, I'm not going to go all the way through with this, but what you would do is you commit, you make a message, you make a new branch, and once that branch is there, you create this new merge request and eventually you submit that merge request. So you can see this is a brand new file. This is the diff here. There's nothing was deleted, but something was created, so this is all in green. All that's done. Click commit. And it would create a new merge request. And in that merge request, you say why you need a new handbook page. What's the purpose? What's the reason? You notice this is taking a lot longer than my Diva stuff. This is a much larger project that takes a little bit of time to gather up all the things it needs. Additionally, this merge request has pipelines attached to it, CI/CD. So you can see this one comes with an automatic template of stuff you need to do. What I would do is I would put why the change is being made. I would look at the checklist. This is all stuff that comes with when you're updating the handbook. Okay, let's get out of here. And that's to make a whole new page in the handbook. If there's one that already exists, you can just click into it in the Web IDE. So there's a few ways to do this. So let's take a look here. This is the Twitch for Evangelist page I told you about before. And if you want to edit it, if you're like, oh, I found a error here, I found a misspelling, I found a dead link, you can scroll all the way to the bottom, and right at the very bottom of every handbook page, as I exit out of the video, go back, go back. At the bottom of every page on GitLab.com, there's a little thing there that you can see that says open in Web IDE. Edit in Web IDE right here. Okay? When you click that, it opens the Web IDE on the index.html.md page or file for that page. There it is. You find the section that you need to edit, you edit it, and then you follow the same steps to make a merge request like you did before. Amazing work, PJ. Adding new text. You'll notice that the diff says, hey, this paragraph was deleted, but this paragraph was added. But really, the big diff you can see right there, it considers this one line, right? 19 is a single line of text. Down here, the only thing that's different is right there. It's like a double highlight, essentially. Editing. I can spell. I'm an English teacher and I can spell, I promise. Or I used to be an English teacher. Amazing. And then you would commit it and you would follow that same process for merge requests like you did before. All right. One of the other things that can be very important is to check the CI logs. Now, CI/CD is a more advanced topic that'll be covered later on, but essentially it stands for continuous integration, continuous delivery, or continuous deployment. And it creates what we call a pipeline, and that pipeline outputs a bunch of logs that allow you to see the details of the job that ran. So for instance, I use my CI/CD to automatically update my bots. When I make new code, it automatically updates the Heroku dyno where my code is hosted and always on to be watching for bot activity. So when your CI/CD runs, like I said, there's logs. These are accessible directly from the Web IDE right here. You click that rocket ship, it will show you the most recent logs. So let's check this out. Here we are in the Web IDE. We are inside of my bot and click that. Shows me a pipeline, the most recent pipeline. I can click directly into that. And it takes me to see all of this output that I do not know all what it says. All I know is at the end, the Twitter bot works. And it's basically magic. Very straightforward, very simple to see your CI/CD output over there. It's great. So all of our docs, like I said, they were linked in the previous presentation, but they're at docs.gitlab.com/ee/user/project/web_. I don't know why I'm reading the whole thing. It's here on the screen for y'all, and I'm gonna make it a link. So that's all there for you. Everything you need to know about the Web IDE available on our docs, how to use it, what to do. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope it was the most fun you've literally ever had in your entire life. And I hope you guys continue to do well. If you have any questions, again, reach out to me on Twitter. Find me on GitLab. Start an issue and make me the assignee so we can have a chat. But thanks very much and have a good one.